morning, everybody. We present the Chapter 8, Corporate Strategic. The members of group, Camila Moreno, Karen Vega, Camila Poma, and Jessica Cushicondor. Crafting and excusing. Ultimate justification for diversifying. Diversification must do more for a company than simply speed its business risks across in various industries. We have three: the industry attractiveness test, the cost of the test entry, and the value of the test. Now, I talk about the better performance through synergy. Evaluating the potential for synergy through diversification. Firm A purchased firm B in another industry, and firm A purchased firm C in another industry. Strategic for entering new business. Achieving diversification through internal development involves starting a new business subsidiary from scratch. One of these, entering a new business via internal development, the risk associated with internal startup can be substantial, and internal new venue not only has uncovered industry antivirus but also must invest in new production. When we talk about engage in internal development, we refer of a new business has appeal only when apply time to develop and launch business, cost of acquisition is higher than internal entry, ad capacity will not affect supply and demand balance, low resistance of income first to market entry, no head-to-head competition in target industry, and availability of in-house skill and resources. Engage in a joint venture. Evaluating the potential for a joint venture. First, it's a good vehicle for pursuing an opportunity that is too complex. Second, it's a sense when the opportunity in a new industry requires an broad range of a competence. Generally the least durable for the entry option, usually lasting only until the partner decide to go their own ways. The choice of how best to enter a new business, whether through internal development, acquisition of joint venture. We have four questions: the question of critical resource and capabilities, the question of entry barriers, the question of speed, and the question of comparative cost. Is speed an important factor in the firm change for the success of entry?
Diversification into related business. Diversification is a growth strategy that involves entering into a new market or industry, one that the business doesn't currently operate in, while also creating a new product for that new market. Now, if a company decides to diversify, it faces the choice of whether to diversify into related business, unrelated business, or some mix of both. When a firm pursues a related business, it appeals to the opportunity to build shareholder value by leveraging the cross-business commonalities within key value chain activities into competitive advantages, thus allowing the company as a whole to perform better than just the sum of its individual business. When a firm pursues unrelated business, the resource requirements and key value chain activities are so dissimilar that no competitively important cross-business commonalities exist. And when a firm integrates both related and unrelated business, there is a major core business that accounts for about 50 to 80% of revenues, and several small related or unrelated businesses that account for the remainder. In the following sections, we will explore the ins and outs related to related and unrelated diversification. As previously mentioned, a related diversification strategy exists whenever one or more activities constituting the value chains of different businesses are sufficiently similar to present opportunities for cross-business sharing or transferring of the resources and capabilities that enable these activities. That is known as a strategic fit. A cross-business strategic fit can exist anywhere along the value chain. Let's review the 5 potential cross-business fits in depth. First, a strategic fit in supply chain activities can perform better together because of the potential for transferring skills in procuring materials, sharing resources and capabilities in logistics, collaborating with common supply chain partners, and/or increasing leverage with shippers in securing volume discounts on incoming parts and components. A company that applies supply chain activities is Dell Computer, as it partners with leading suppliers or microprocessors, circuit boards, disk drivers, memory chips, and others to help the company diversify into servers or LED TVs. Second, a strategic fit in R&D or technology development activities perform better together than apart because of potential cost savings in R&D, shorter times in getting new products to market, and more innovative products or processes. For these reasons, TV companies like DirecTV has been able to diversify into high-speed internet access via the use of cable modems, as well as providing local and long-distance telephone service to residential and commercial customers. Third, a manufacturing-related strategic fit can be exploited when a diversifier's expertise in quality control and cost-efficient production methods can be transferred to another business. Another benefit of this strategy is the ability to consolidate production into a small number of plants and significantly reduce overall production costs. A firm that incorporated this strategy is Smucker's, when it acquired Procter & Gamble's Jif peanut butter business. It was able to combine the manufacture of the two brands of peanut butter products while gaining greater leverage with vendors in purchasing its peanut butter supplies. Fourth, when diversifying with a strategic fit in sales and marketing activities, there are various cost-saving opportunities. For instance, if a firm manages to sell the products directly to customers, sales costs can be reduced as they will no longer require a whole marketing team on the same customer. Another benefit is that the promotion of products of related businesses can be endorsed in the same website or even include them in their social media. In terms of sales, related businesses can facilitate order processing and billing. Additionally, this strategy allows several businesses to share sales and marketing approaches through the same wholesale distribution system. Black & Decker pursued this strategy when it acquired Vector Products. Black & Decker was able to use its own global sales force to sell the Vector products that include vehicle battery chargers and rechargeable spotlights. Fifth, the distribution-related strategic fit allows firms to share the same distribution facilities or using many of the same wholesale distributors and retail dealers. For instance, Conair Corporation acquired Allegro Manufacturing's traveling bag and travel accessory business. By doing so, it consolidated its own distribution centers to the Conair's star production they have, which are hair dryers and curling irons. On the other hand, Allegro's neck rests, earplugs, and toiletry kits were sold by the same types of supermarket chains that Conair had already been working together with. Last but not least, the sixth strategy fit involves customer service activities. This can enable cost savings or differentiation advantages. Different businesses can often use the same customer service infrastructure. Amazon is a company that, due to its sophisticated data network, call centers, billing, and accounting systems, it is able to share its resources about customer preferences while creating a differentiation advantage through higher quality customer service. As seen, a well-managed strategic fit can open opportunities for economies of scope. These involve the direct engagement along the value chains of related businesses. In turn, it enables the businesses to share resources or to transfer them from business to business at low cost. Nevertheless, economies of scope only include firms that are involved into related diversification. Therefore, the cost advantage from economies of scope is due to the fact that the resource sharing allows a multi-business firm to spread resource costs across its businesses and to avoid expenses of having to acquire and maintain duplicate sets of resources, which could be one for each business. In other words, an economy of scope allows firms to contribute with businesses to greater efficiency and lower costs relative to their competitors, and provide broad differentiation to customers who are willing to pay relatively more for the business's goods and services. By applying any of the previously stated related diversification strategies along with an economy of scope, a business can incorporate a competitive advantage over rivals. There are 4 prime advantages: transferring specialized expertise, technological know-how, or other competitively valuable strategic assets from one business's value chain to another's. Google is a great example with its ability to transfer software developers and other information technology specialists to develop operating systems. Second, sharing costs between businesses by combining activities into a single operation to achieve lower costs. Multinationals have opted to manufacture their products in a single plant, instead of every business having its own. They even use the same warehouses for shipping and distribution. This is feasible as they market to the same types of customers. Third, leveraging the use of a well-respected brand name and sharing other resources that support corresponding value chain activities across businesses. For instance, when Disney acquired Marvel Comics, it was recognized that Marvel's iconic characters such as Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Captain America were shared with many of the other Disney businesses, including its theme parks, retail stores, and video game businesses. Finally, a fourth advantage is engaging a cross-business collaboration and knowledge sharing to create new competitively valuable resources and capabilities and drive innovation. This benefit can improve competitiveness and business performance of the companies involved. There is another benefit from related diversified companies, which is achieving 1 + 1 = 3 financial performance. This potential means that a company is dependable enough to earning profits while its ROI exceeds and what the company's businesses could earn on its own. From this added profitability, a cross-business related diversification benefits us. Related diversified business build shareholder value in ways that shareholders cannot undertake by simply owning a portfolio of stocks of companies in different industries. Second, cross-business can only be possible via a strategy of related diversification and its selection of a valuable strategic fit. Third, the benefits of cross-business strategic fit come from the transferring of sharing the resources and capabilities that are specialized to certain applications and have value only in specific types of industries and businesses. And when a company diversifies into related businesses, the benefits materialize only after management has successfully pursued internal actions to capture them. So, in conclusion, capturing the benefits of a strategic fit along the value chains of its related businesses gives a diversified company a clear path to achieving competitive advantage over undiversified competitors and competitors whose own diversification efforts don't offer equivalent strategic fit benefits.
Diversification into unrelated businesses. Companies that pursue a strategy of unrelated diversification generally exhibit a willingness to diversify into any businesses in any industry where senior managers see an opportunity to realize consistently good financial results. Companies engaged in unrelated diversification nearly always enter new businesses by acquiring an established company rather than by forming a startup, subsidiary within their own corporate structures or participating in joint ventures. Thus, with an unrelated diversification strategy, company managers spend much time and effort screening acquisition candidates and evaluating the pros and cons of keeping or divesting existing businesses using such criteria as: can it meet corporate targets for profitability and return on investment? Is it in an industry with attractive profit and growth potentials? Is it big enough to contribute significantly to the parent firm's bottom line? But the key to successful unrelated diversification is to go beyond these considerations and ensure that the strategy passes the better off test as well. This test requires more than just growth in revenues. It requires growth in profits. Building shareholder value via unrelated diversification. Given the absence of cross-business strategies fit, with which to create competitive advantages. Building shareholder value via unrelated diversification ultimately hinges on the ability of the parent company to improve its businesses. We can use an unrelated diversification strategy to pursue value in three ways. The first way is the astute corporate parenting by management. One of the most important ways that corporate parents contribute to the success of their business is by offering high-level oversight and guidance. The top executives of a large diversified corporation have among them many years of accumulated experience in a variety of business settings and can often contribute expert problem-solving skills, creative strategy suggestions, and first-rate advice and guidance on how to improve competitiveness and financial performance to the heads of the company's various business subsidiaries. Cross-business allocation of financial resources. By relocating surplus cash flows from some businesses to fund the capital requirements of other businesses, in a sense, having the company served as an internal capital market, corporate parents might also be able to create value. A parent company's ability to function as its own internal capital market enhances overall corporate performance and increases shareholder value to the extent that its top managers have better access to information about investment opportunities internal to the firm than do external financiers, or it can provide funds that will otherwise be unavailable due to poor financial market conditions. Acquiring and restructuring undervalued companies. Another way for parent companies to add value to unrelated businesses is by acquiring weakly performing companies at a bargain price and then restructuring their operations in ways that produce sometimes dramatic increase in profitability. Restructuring refers to overhauling and streamlining the operation of a business, combining plants with excess capacity, selling off underutilized assets, reducing unnecessary expenses, revamping its product offerings, consolidating administrative functions to reduce overhead costs, and otherwise improving the operating efficiency and profitability of a company. The path to greater shareholder value through unrelated diversification. For a strategy of unrelated diversification to produce company-wide financial results above and beyond what the business could generate operating as standalone entities, corporate executives must do three things to pass the three tests of corporate advantage. So, the actions taken by upper management to create value and gain a parenting advantage are: first, do a superior job of diversifying into businesses that produce good earnings and returns of investment. Second, do an excellent job of negotiating favorable acquisition prices. Third, provide managerial oversight and resource sharing, financial resource allocation and portfolio management, and restructure underperforming businesses. The drawbacks of unrelated diversification. Unrelated diversification strategies have two important negatives that undercut the pluses: very demanding managerial requirements and limited competitive advantage potential. Demanding managerial requirements. Successfully managing a set of fundamentally different businesses operating in fundamentally different industry and competitive environments is a challenging and exceptionally difficult proposition. Consider, for example, that corporations like General Electric, Mitsubishi, and Bharti Enterprises have dozens of business subsidiaries making hundreds and sometimes thousands of products. Unrelated diversification is thus a somewhat risky strategy from a managerial perspective. Just one or two unforeseen problems or big strategic mistakes, which are much more likely without close corporate oversight, can cause a precipitous drop in corporate earnings and crush the parent company's stock price. Hence, competently overseeing a set of widely diverse businesses can turn out to be much harder than it sounds. The second big negative is that unrelated diversifications offer only a limited potential for competitive advantage beyond what each individual business can generate on its own. Unrelated diversification provides no cross-business strategic fit benefits that allow each business to perform its key value chain activities in a more efficient and effective manner. These are the reasons for pursuing unrelated diversification. Companies sometimes pursue unrelated diversification for reasons that are misguided. These include the following: risk reduction, spreading the company's investment over a set of diverse industries to spread risk cannot create long-term shareholder value, since the company's shareholder can more flexibly reduce their exposure to risk by investing in a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds. Growth. While unrelated diversification may enable a company to achieve rapid or continuous growth, firms that pursue growth for growth's sake are unlikely to maximize shareholder value. Stabilization. Managers sometimes pursue broad diversification in the hope that market downtrends in some of the company's business will be partially offset by cyclical upswings in these other businesses. In actual practice, however, there's no convincing evidence that the consolidated profits of firms with unrelated diversification strategies are more stable or less subject to reversal in periods of recession and economic stress. Managerial motives. Unrelated diversification can provide benefits to managers such as higher compensation and reduced unemployment risk. Pursuing diversification for these reasons will likely reduce shareholder value and violate managers' fiduciary responsibilities. Combination related-unrelated diversification strategies. Some diversified companies are really dominant business enterprises. One major core business accounts for 50 to 80% of total revenues, and a collection of small related or unrelated businesses account for the remainder. Some diversified companies are narrowly diversified around a few 2 to 5 related or unrelated businesses. Others are broadly diversified around a wide-ranging collection of related businesses, unrelated businesses, or a mixture of both. A number of multi-business enterprises have diversified into unrelated areas but have a collection of related businesses within each area, thus giving them a business portfolio consisting of several unrelated groups of related businesses.
Evaluating the strategy of a diversified company. A principal consideration in evaluating the caliber of a diversified company's strategy is the attractiveness of the industries in which it has business operations. Several questions arise. The first one is, does each industry the company has diversified into represent a good market for the company to be in? Does it pass the industry attractiveness test? The second one is, which of the company's industries are the most attractive and which are less attractive? And the third one is, how appealing is the whole group of industries in which the company has invested? The more attractive the industries that a diversified company is in, the better its prospects for good long-term performance. Calculating industry attractiveness scores. A simple and reliable analytic tool for gauging industry attractiveness involves calculating quantitative industry attractiveness scores based on the following measures: market size and projected growth rate, the intensity of competition, the emerging opportunities and threats, the presence of cross-industry strategic fit, the resource requirements, the social, political, regulatory, and environmental factors, and the industry profitability. Each attractiveness measure is then assigned a weight reflecting its relative importance in determining an industry attractiveness, since not all attractiveness measures are equally important. The second step in evaluating a diversified company is to appraise the competitive strength of each business unit in its respective industry. Quantitative measures of each business unit's competitive strength can be calculated using a procedure similar to that for measuring industry attractiveness. The following factors are used in quantifying the competitive strength of a diversified company's business subsidiaries: relative market share, cost relative to competitor cost, ability to match or beat rivals on key product attributes, brand image and reputation, other competitively valuable resources and capabilities, ability to benefit from strategic fit, ability to exercise bargaining leverage with key suppliers or customers, and profitability related to competitors. After setting on a set of competitive strength measures that are well matched to the circumstance of the various business units, the company needs to assign weights indicating each measure's importance. Step 3 is determining the competitive value of strategic fit in diversified companies. While this step can be bypassed
for diversified companies whose business are all unrelated, since by design strategic fit is lacking, assessing the degree of strategic fit across a company's business is central to evaluating its related diversification strategy. But more than just strategic fit identification is needed, the real question is, how much competitive value can be generated from strategic fit? Without significant strategic fit and dedicated company efforts to capture the benefits, one has to be skeptical about the potential for a diversified company's business to perform better together than apart. The greater the value of cross-business strategic fit in enhancing the performance of a diversified company's businesses, the more competitively powerful is the company's related diversification strategy. The step 4 is checking for resource fit. The businesses in a diversified company's line-up need to exhibit good resource fit. Financial resource fit. One dimension of resource fit concerns whether a diversified company can generate the internal cash flows sufficient to fund the capital requirements of its businesses, pay its dividends, meet its debt obligations, and otherwise remain financially healthy. While additional capital can usually be raised in financial markets, it is important for a diversified firm to have a healthy internal capital market that can support the financial requirements of its business lineup. A portfolio approach to ensuring financial fit among a firm's businesses is based on the fact that different businesses have different cash flow and investment characteristics. For example, business units in rapidly growing industries are often cash hogs that they need cash to develop. Because a cash hog, financial resources must be provided by the corporate parent. Corporate managers have to decide whether it makes good financial and strategic sense to keep pouring new money into a cash hog business. In contrast, business units with leading market positions in mature industry are frequently cash cows. That is, the business that generates substantial cash surplus over what is needed to adequately fund their operations. Ideally, investing in promising cash hogs businesses over time results in growing the hogs into self-supporting star businesses that have a strong or market-leading competitive position in attractive, high-growth sales markets and high levels of profitability. Star businesses are often the cash cows of the future. When the markets of star businesses begin to mature and their growth slows, their competitive strength should produce self-generated cash flows that are more than sufficient to cover the investment needed. Aside from cash flow considerations, there are two other factors to consider in assessing whether a diversified company's business exhibits good financial fit. The first one is, does each of the individual businesses adequately contribute to achieving company-wide performance targets? And the second one is, does the corporation have adequate financial strength to fund its different businesses and maintain a healthy credit rating? Non-financial resource fit. Just as diversified company must have adequate financial resources to support its various individual businesses, it must also have a big enough and deep enough pool of managerial, administrative, and competitive capabilities to support all of its different businesses. The following two questions help reveal whether a diversified company has sufficient non-financial resources. The first one is, does the company have or can it develop the specific resources and capabilities needed to be successful in each of its businesses? Sometimes the resource of a company has accumulated in its core businesses prove to be a poor match
with the competitive capabilities needed to succeed in the businesses into which it has diversified. And the second one is, are the company's resources being stretched too thinly by the resource requirements of one or more of its businesses? A diversified company must guard against overtaxing its resources and capabilities, a condition that can arise when the first is it goes on an acquisition spree and management is called on to assimilate it and oversee many new business very quickly, or the option 2 is it lacks sufficient resource depth to do a creditable job of transferring skills and competence from one of its businesses to another. Once a diversified company's strategy has been evaluated from the perspective of industry attractiveness, competitive strength,
strategic fit, and resource fit, the next step is to use this information to rank the performance prospects of the businesses from the best to worst. Such ranking helps top-level executives assign each business a priority for resource support and capital investments. The locations of the different businesses in the 9-cell industry attractiveness competitive strength matrix provide a solid basis for identifying high opportunity businesses and low opportunity businesses. Normally, competitively strong businesses in attractive industry have significantly better performance prospects than competitively weak businesses in unattractive industry. Also, the revenue and earnings outlook for businesses in fast-growing industries is normally better than for businesses in slow-growing industries. As a rule, businesses subsidiaries with the brightest profile and growth prospects attractive positions in the 9-cell matrix, and solid strategic and resource fit should receive top priority for allocation of corporate resources. However, in ranking the prospects of the different businesses from best to worst, it is usually wise to also take into account each business's past performance in regards to sales growth, profitability growth, contribution to company's earnings, return on capital invested in the businesses, and cash flow from operations. While past performance is not always a reliable predictor of future performance, it does signal whether a business is already performing well or has problems to overcome. Divesting businesses with the weakest future prospects and businesses that lack adequate strategic fit and or resource fit is one of the best ways of generating additional funds for redeployment to businesses with better opportunities and better strategic and resource fit. Free cash flows from cash cow businesses also add to the pool of funds that can be usefully redeployed. Ideally, a diversified company will have sufficient financial resources to strengthen or grow its existing businesses, make any new acquisitions that are desirable, fund other promising business opportunities, pay off existing debt, and periodically increase dividend payments to shareholders and or repurchase shares of stock.
Sticking closely with the present business lineup makes sense when the company's existing business offers attractive growth opportunities and can be counted on create economic value for shareholders. And corporate executives and concentrate their attention on getting to the best performance for the age of the business. Branding a diversified company's business base. Sometimes find it desirable to build position in a new industries. In some business, the volume of sales need to release full economies of scale and or benefit full from experience curve.
Retrench to a narrower diversification base. A number of diversified firms have had difficulty managing a diverse group of businesses and have elected to exit some of them. Selling a business outright to another company is the most frequently used option for divesting a business. In 2012, Sara Lee Corporation sold its international coffee and tea business to J.M. Smucker. Nike sold its Umbro and Cole Haan brands to focus on brands like Jordan and Converse that are more complementary to the Nike brand. Retrenching to a narrower diversification base is usually undertaken when top management concludes that its diversification has ranged too far afield and that the company can improve long-term performance by concentrating on a smaller number of businesses. Sometimes divesting a business has to be considered because market conditions in a once attractive industry have badly deteriorated. Other business units, despite adequate financial performance, may not mesh as well with the rest of the firm as was originally thought. For example, PepsiCo. PepsiCo divested its group of fast food restaurant businesses to focus on its core soft drink and snack food businesses, where their specialized resources and capabilities could add more value.
Restructuring a diversified company's business lineup is appealing when its financial performance is being squeezed or eroded by a serious mismatch between the company's resources and capabilities and the type of diversification that it has pursued. Too many businesses in slow growth, declining, low margin, or otherwise unattractive industries. Too many competitively weak businesses. The merge of new technologies that threaten the survival of one or more important businesses. Ongoing declines in the market shares of one or more major businesses units that are falling prey to more market-savvy competitors. An excessive debt burden with interest costs that eat deeply into profitability. Ill-chosen acquisitions that haven't lived up to expectations. On occasions, corporate restructuring can be promoted by special circumstances.